Hello, dear YouTube. Today, we will delve deeper into one of Australia's most chilling and unsolved crimes, the horrific story of an unidentified child rapist known as Mr. Cruel, and the suspected killer of Carmine Chen. This case horrified Melbourne in the late 1980s and early 1990s, and despite the many years that have passed, it remains shrouded in a dark veil of mystery. In this video, we will examine the known attacks by this perpetrator, the Carmine Chen case, the details of the police investigation, and why he has still not been caught. The name Mr. Cruel became public knowledge through a headline in a Melbourne newspaper. This name is associated with the brutal attacks on 3 young girls in the northern and eastern suburbs of Melbourne between 1987 and 1990, and the abduction and brutal murder of 13-year-old Carmine Chen in 1991. The true identity of the perpetrator remains a mystery, and these horrific crimes remain unsolved cold cases. According to police reports, Mr. Cruel was an extremely intelligent and methodical offender. It is believed that he surveilled his victims and their families for weeks, even months. It appears that he studied the floor plans of the houses before carrying out his attacks, identified entry and exit points, and waited for the most opportune time. His use of a balaclava to completely cover his face during the attacks, the wearing of gloves, and his meticulous efforts to avoid leaving any forensic evidence at the crime scenes paint the picture of a professional criminal. Furthermore, it is known that he provided misleading information to the victims' families or the police in an attempt to derail the investigation. According to witness statements, Mr. Cruel's manner of speaking was quite soft, and his movements were unhurried. It has even been reported that during one attack, he calmly ate a meal in the victim's house, which provides chilling insights into the perpetrator's psychological profile. He typically used a knife or a handgun during his attacks, threatening his victims and their families with death. The first confirmed attack occurred in the early hours of August 22, 1987, in Lower Plenty. A man wearing a balaclava and armed with a gun forcibly entered a family's home, tied up the parents, and locked them in a wardrobe. He then sexually assaulted their 11-year-old daughter and cut the house's phone lines, preventing communication with the outside world. This event created a climate of great fear and insecurity among the local population. The second incident took place in a similar manner in Ringwood on December 27, 1988. In the early morning hours, an attacker wearing a balaclava and armed with a gun entered a house through the back door, tied up the parents, and gagged them, before abducting their 10-year-old daughter, Sharon Wills. Sharon was blindfolded and had a gag placed in her mouth. After an agonizing 18-hour ordeal, Sharon was released in the grounds of Bayswater High School. This incident suggested a pattern in the offender's behavior of releasing his abducted victims after a certain period. The third confirmed attack occurred in Canterbury on July 3, 1990. Close to midnight, an intruder forcibly entered a home, bound and gagged 13-year-old Nicola Linnes, blindfolded her, and disabled the telephones. After searching the house for money, he took Nicola to an unknown location, where he abused her for 50 hours before releasing her at an electricity substation in Kew, according to Nicola's statement. The perpetrator told her that he had watched her walking home from school, confirming that he had been stalking his victims beforehand. The most tragic event attributed to Mr. Cruel is the abduction and murder of 13-year-old Carmine Chen. Abducted from her home in Templestowe on April 13, 1991, Carmine's fate remained uncertain for a long time. However, a year later, her decomposed body was found in a landfill area in Coburg North with 3 gunshot wounds to the head. Carmine's family was home at the time of her abduction, yet the perpetrator managed to take her away. Investigators believe that Carmine may have been killed because she had seen her abductor's face or because he feared she could identify him. However, some detectives still have doubts as to whether this murder was committed by Mr. Cruel. The lack of sufficient evidence at the crime scene and certain discrepancies fuel these doubts. Carmine's death caused deep sorrow and outrage in Melbourne and intensified the efforts to capture Mr. Cruel in an attempt to solve the Mr. Cruel case. A special police unit called the Spectrum Task Force was established in 1991, conducted one of the largest and most expensive investigations in Australian history. More than 30,000 homes were searched, and over 27,000 suspects were questioned. An initial reward of $300,000 was offered for information leading to the capture of the perpetrator. Later, On the 25th anniversary of Carmine Chan's abduction, this reward was increased to OD 1 million. However, despite all these intensive efforts, Mr. Cruel's identity has never been determined. And in 1994, the Spectrum Task Force was disbanded. Some information obtained during the investigation suggested that Mr. Cruel may have videotaped or photographed his attacks. Police believe that if the perpetrator is still alive, he may still be keeping these recordings and collecting child. A striking detail in the victims' statements was that the perpetrator bathed them and gave them clean clothes. 2. Victims mentioned hearing the sounds of planes landing, leading police to believe that the house where they were held was on one of the flight paths to Melbourne Airport. Over the years, police evaluated various leads and suspects. In 2010, a new team called the Apollo Task Force was formed. But this team also failed to make significant progress and was closed in 2013. In the same year, Robert Keith Knight, a convicted child rapist who had committed suicide, also emerged as a potential suspect, but the detectives leading the investigation did not believe he was Mr. Cruel. In 2016, details of the Spectrum Task Force's confidential files on 7 potential suspects, known as the Sierra Files, were leaked to the press. These files had been prepared with the assistance of the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, indicating the international seriousness with which the investigation was viewed. There are several reasons why the Mr. Cruel case has remained unsolved for so many years. The perpetrator's extremely careful and methodical actions, his failure to leave any forensic evidence at the crime scenes, and the victim's inability to provide sufficient physical descriptions of him have made the investigation incredibly difficult. His constant use of a mask to cover his face made it impossible for the victims to identify him. Furthermore, memories and the potential loss of possible evidence. These horrific events caused deep trauma in Melbourne and across Australia. They heightened concerns about child safety and created a climate of great fear and insecurity among families. The fact that Mr. Cruel has still not been caught perpetuates this fear and uncertainty. The community continues to hope that this perpetrator will one day be brought to justice. The Mr. Cruel case has gone down in history as one of Australia's darkest and most unsolved mysteries. The trauma experienced by the 3 young girls and the tragic death of Carmine Chan are painful events that will not be forgotten. Despite the many years that have passed, the police force continues to keep this case open and evaluate new leads. The high rewards offered demonstrate the community's sensitivity to this case and their hope that the perpetrator will be caught. We hope this in-depth examination has helped you better understand the complexity and reasons for the lack of resolution in the Mr. Cruel case. As a society, we must remain vigilant and continue to be the voice of the victims to prevent such tragic events from happening again. Thank you for watching. In our next video, we will continue to address similar unsolved cases. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comment section. Goodbye.